While Egyptian protests divide the country and threaten stability in the region, back here at home, many viewers have little idea of how large or how serious these revolts really are. And that's all due to one man soaking up the media spotlight, George Zimmerman. In fact, CNN and its sister station, Headline News, have dedicated numerous hours each day to broadcast uninterrupted parts of the trial.
The jury must decide if Zimmerman is guilty of murdering 17-year-old Trayvon Martin or if he was acting in self-defense.
A rare moment of emotion from George Zimmerman in the courtroom, as this week's testimony could see more family on the stand.
The mothers of George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin testify.
Still, Egypt's protests continue, but there was one decisive moment when CNN did focus on Egypt, when its reporters became the story.
We're told. I think we're having some problems here. They're trying to take away our camera. لا 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 على مهلك يا ضابط على مهلك لو سمحت على مهلك.
And that would appear to be that. Ben Wiedemann there in the middle of giving us a live report, and he was stopped by the Egyptian military.
But that's not the only story that we heard out of the military this week. And it's not only the military that has issues with CNN's coverage. Over the weekend, protesters in New York complained that CNN's calling the overthrow of Morsi a coup is misleading. The supporters of the opposition argue it's a revolt, that the Egyptian military kicked Morsi out based on popular will. And the anti-CNN sentiment goes further. Someone created an anti-CNN Facebook page saying, quote, CNN is giving you a totally fake and untrue picture of what is going on now in Egypt. For an in-depth analysis on media coverage during the Egyptian protests, I'm joined now by RT Arabic correspondent Rima Abu Hamdia. Rima, thank you so much for joining me. So let's start off by talking, why is there so much opposition to CNN of all people?
Well, maybe because CNN was there in Tahrir Square at the time when CNN was there in Tahrir Square. That is a plus. That is somebody who's on the ground reporting what's going on right there. At the same time, you have the headquarters who are reporting the news from the USA. People are watching as the reporter on the ground is talking to the anchor who is calling their revolt, their protests, their deposing of the president as a coup, and they simply made it very clear that they do not want this this to be called a coup.
And it simply wasn't one CNN correspondent or one CNN anchor that was calling this a coup. It was across the station. They had it on their banners saying that this was, in fact, a coup. So talk about the word coup. I mean, how important is that versus revolt? I mean, obviously, the Facebook page that was set up against CNN alone shows, obviously, a big outcry against the word coup.
Exactly. It's just the use of the word. Well, technically, no one can debate that this is not a coup. The definition of the word coup is when there is a president who is overthrown by protests, a military, allies, an opposition group. This is the definition of the word. However, the Egyptians seem to not want to use this word just because the military took the side of the protesters. And the protesters, who were in millions, probably we have never seen anything like this in modern history. People say that just because we were out in millions, we have the right to call our revolution whatever we want to, and we don't want Western media to call this a coup.
And there's no question that obviously this is a huge event, but also the media plays a huge role in how it's being covered. Let's talk about, obviously, you pay attention to a lot of different Arabic news stations, different Arabic newspapers. Talk about the role that the U.S. plays in all of this and the idea of battling news versus infotainment.
Well, too many sides for this. First of all, it's not just the U.S. media that's labeling this as a coup. Some Arabic stations are labeling this as a coup, and the Egyptians are having issues with these stations and with these countries as well. However, Egyptian media took the side of the protesters seemingly from the very beginning, and so this is what they see coming on their screens. And when they see something different on other stations, they basically they dislike it because for the past year, according to them, they've been living in this hell. And I quote one of the protesters there, and no one came to their aid. No one was helping them. And for them to be able to go out and protest all of this and now be seen as people who are staging a coup, for them this is misleading, to say the least. However, the U.S. also is playing a major role in all of this.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that we have seen pictures, one picture after another, of posters that are very anti-Obama. And you have a lot of protesters protesting against Obama, and then, as we mentioned, you have some protesters protesting against CNN. Do you think the two are being equated to one another, that CNN represents the Obama administration or vice versa?
Not really. I don't think so. And none of the Egyptians I spoke with said that they're equating CNN with Obama. They know that there are two different worlds here. There is the media world that is basically reporting however they want, and they've seen this in the past. They saw how the American media covered the 25th of January of last year or 2 years ago revolution. They saw how the media not covered the June 30th protests. And for them, maybe this is where a lot of the anti-CNN comes from. However, they also know the Obama administration and what happened, and maybe what they call the vague and very ununderstandable quotes and statements that are coming from the president. They expected the president to be on their side, to be on the side of the millions and millions of the protesters. And he basically, his statements, according to them, did not.
It's called the Fourth Estate for a reason, and it is playing a major part in this Egyptian revolution. RT Arabic correspondent Rima Abu Hamdia, thank you so much.